Everyday Survival, and today we are going to build the battery box for the diesel heater and also the case for the diesel heater itself. I've actually got two of these and that's what we're going to use. I will zoom in on those in a moment so you can have a look at them, and then we are actually going to use this lithium ion battery here. And what are we doing with it? So this is the case that I got. It is actually from Princess Auto. I got 2 for 1. So that's really good. So the price of this box was, it was originally $99 down to 49. I think it was 49. Can't remember if it was 40 or 49 bucks. But anyway, I got 2 for the price of 1. And that's the case that we're going to get. Pelican style. It's actually got 4 locks. So we got good locking systems in here. And it does have a waterproof seal. And then this is the battery that we're going to use. I'm going to play around with it. It is a 12 volt, 70 ampere hour. And so that's what we're going to play with. And we're going to see if this will work. The reason why I want to use lithium is because of the weight of the battery is about 50% reduced over an AGM that I have. And also the available charge to me is going to be 100%. So that means that I can actually lower it right down to its BMS value or charge it back up to what the BMS is suggesting. So I can discharge the lithium battery right down to 0 according to the BMS. Now, pretty much everybody knows that the BMS will govern what the battery will do to keep a state of health and state of charge. So we know that we can't kill lithium 100%, right? So we have to leave some in it, whether we are charging it or discharging it, because we will seriously damage the lithium ion cells. But the available charge to me inside of this battery is 100% available. What does that mean? It's going to give me everything that's stored inside of there. Whereas an AGM or a lead acid battery, we know we can use about 50% of its capacity. Otherwise, we'll end up killing the battery if we discharge it too often. So that's the idea behind the lithium, and the BMS is going to be my circuit breakers. I have yet to decide inside of here if I'm going to put a circuit breaker. I just got to figure out the amperage that I want to do, and then there's going to be a couple of Anderson plugs connected to it, one for solar and one directly to the diesel heater itself. The second Anderson plug going to solar, I'm going to try that because I have a solar panel that's got its own regulator on it, and hopefully that would just keep the voltage to where it needs to be, so around 13 volts, and then the BMS on the battery will be able to turn it off when it gets too full. So we'll never be able to overcharge the lithium ion battery because the BMS inside will switch it off if required. Hopefully we won't get that far, because if we're using it on a cold day with the sun available, we can have the panel connected to it, and then also we can be draining it because obviously we're going to be using the diesel heater's voltage. We also need to keep it somewhat unexposed from the elements. And that is why the Pelican case is here. Let's have a look at the Pelican case inside. I've already cut the foam out to the shape of the battery. So when we open this up, you'll have a look at that. So we'll have a look at it. So I have cut out the bottom already. The 3 layers of foam, 2, 3. This is some of the leftovers. You can see it's not very thick. There's the bottom. Put that back in there for insulation reasons. That's the top of this. This is the one section that's got like the segments that are pre-cut out. So the leftovers out of this top hole I put in the bottom. You can see the roof is already shaved down because it was just too thick with these knobby areas in there. And then it has a seal, a water seal, all the way around the lip, which is great. And again, it has the 4-point, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4. We have the 4 points where this is going to sit. So this is what it's going to look like when it's in. I will put some battening. I've got some leftover foam to go in between here because now the battery weight is compressing the very bottom. And I'll put something right in the top here just to stop it from floating. I haven't decided if these poles are going to be at the front or at the back. I'm thinking the front because this battery is not going to get much in the way of charge unless I add solar charging to it. And if that's the case, I will put Anderson plugs here. There is definitely going to be one Anderson plug coming out of here to supply power to the diesel heater. And to seal it all up, I have a second case right here, and this one is going to be for the diesel heater, and that's the build I'm hoping to video and show how it all goes. So the first step is to get rid of all of this foam. We do not need that whatsoever, so bye-bye. And we're going to start off with a blank canvas, and the first idea here is going to be to lay out the components to see roughly how we're going to put it. So I don't think I'm going to video the whole process. I think there's lots of information out on the web, but what I will do is I will walk through what I did when it's complete. One thing I do want to share with you though is the fuel delivery nozzle, this piece here, has to come in at the very bottom right here. Now I did see that there was a bit of a burr right on the very edge here, so I've just took a file to it and flattened that out. I'm actually not going to drill a hole right on the join. I'm probably going to join it probably right here, put a hole here, I think. And the challenge is going to be, how do we get this into this hole? And that, what I'm planning on doing is, I'm going to do this one-handed. I'm going to run it all the way down from the inside, hypothetically, through the inside, right to there, and then I'm just going to lift it up, and hopefully it will come right out of this piece here. Keeping my fingers crossed, that's going to be the aim of tonight. I've got the hole made, and it fits in so nicely, and you can see there's an O-ring in there, so I'm hoping that there'll be enough bend in this piece to get the tip through, obviously from this end, and then get the tip into there, and then I'll be able to screw it together. So I got it through here. We've got the piece right here. So let's see if we can get it through the end. Voila. There it is. Carefully pull out the piece of pipe. Coat hangers out. And perfect. I've astounded myself. And that is the finished thread. It's all nice and tight. Screwed in. It's all good. So the next part of the project is going to be the fuel pump and filter. What is really nice is that the filter is separatable, if that's a word. You can unscrew it and you can clean it. So it's kind of nice having this sieve in here. So it's going to be quite nice to be able to clean that out if there's any debris sitting in the bottom of the tank. And we're going to put the pump in, and what we've got to do is we've got to get it from here. I'm aiming to go through this hole here. This is a foot if the case was sitting on its side, and or on its bottom, shall we say. But it's not going to do that now. It's going to actually stand on these legs here, and we will see if we can get it to curve in right here. What I have been told is when you join the plastic hose, you want to be able to push this right up into here as far as possible, and then cover it with the rubber hose right here. So we are going to try and do that. Okay, let's have a quick walk around of what I've done. It's pretty much a finished product. So if we start from this side here, I've got an air intake, directional. It's primarily going to be there so the rain comes on here. If any water or moisture gets in here, it'll run off. This is a silencer. This is not going to be the finished product. This piece here will come off, That's going to be garbage. I'm actually going to put an air filter on here, and then it'll just stay there like a motorbike air filter. So I'm just waiting for that to arrive. So right now, it's just got the silencer end on it. This is also going to have a filter in it. I have one of these sort of scouring pad things. I'm going to cut this down and have it installed right inside of here. So we go from the air intake to the air intake, and then this is mounted. Luckily I had a couple of brackets here already made up. I just cut the bottom end off. At the very back, you can see an angle iron bracket all the way across, and that is just to sit this plate on there and then keep it rigid. I have the fuel pump. This is suspended by a cable tie. We are going to see if this works. It may be a bit too tight, I'm not sure, because of the pump ticking. And then we have our, right back here, the air intake coming through to the silencer. Harness is just temporary right now. I haven't decided what I'm going to do. This has got to be cut. I'm going to have probably an Anderson plug on the side here so that I can just plug the power cords directly into the battery box. And then the muffler, I put the exhaust in, muffler, this is going to come off in a second. And then this pipe, which is the exhaust pipe, is removable. So I don't know if I'll be able to get it off right now. Yes. So this will sit probably right there. And then it's got a bracket. I'm trying to figure out how to insulate this from melting. I actually cut this oversize. And then when this is in and mounted with that bracket, it won't touch the plastic. So a bit of an air gap, but that's fine. And then I got a dryer vent that will have a hose clamp on there, and this will just go straight up to the trailer, or however I decide to fix this. We haven't got it running yet. We're getting close. I did backfeed. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it. I did backfeed some fuel into the filter. I actually backfed it from here down because it takes a while for the fuel to get up into here, and I just didn't want any wasted time with this pumping, drawing fuel in on a long hose. So I actually filled this all the way up, and then from here it'll just suck up to here, and then it'll pump it in. And so far we have just put a bit of fuel in there. The reason why I went for this controller is because I've heard so many different things with the digital ones. The display is hard to read. It fades after a period of time, as in the light gets dimmer. It consumes power because it's always on. I just wanted something simple. So it's basically an off and on and a dial for the fan speed. The fan speed is also controlling the hertz of the fuel pump. So there is the tank. I've only used 2 bolts because this one sat a bit higher than the lid, and I needed it a bit higher because of where the fuel line runs out of. I'm sure there'll be comments in there saying that it's not level. I purposely made it not level so that I can have all the fuel running in this direction to the pickup when it gets low. I'm hoping to catch it every time, so it shouldn't be low, but that is the plan. So I have just rigged it up very temporarily with the alligator clips on the power on the ground. The display has lit up. Hoping you can see that. And let's see what happens. I'm going to turn it on. Oh, there we go. Turn it on, and what I didn't do, okay, it lights up, full speed. Oh, perfect. I hear the fan running. Excuse the construction behind me. I'm excited. See what happens when this pump starts clicking. So the pump just kicked in. going to be drawing fuel in now, apparently, to the burner. And like I said, I did set this to high speed, so it'll... Just realized that I'd left all the wrapping on the muffler, so I just ripped that off. The pump is now speeding up. The fuel bowl is filling up nicely. I can feel air coming out of here. Not warm yet, but it is definitely pulling air through the heat exchanger. And there is definitely a lot of air coming out of here as well. Okay, the pump just switched off. Not sure why. And I did get a plume of smoke coming out the exhaust, and the fan is actually slowing down. Not sure why. But we will kick this up again. Let's see. I guess I'm going to wait for it to stop. See, for that, all my connections, just because they're temporary, are just not enough amperage going through, and that's probably what it is, because the fan wanted to get going faster. So I could probably make this a better fit. Bear with me. Very interesting. It started up again, and the alligator clips are still on. I was in the shed just getting some battery clamps just to temporarily put it on. I came back out, pump restarted, and I hear burning, combustion I should say, not burning but combustion, and there's definitely hot air coming out of the exhaust. It's warm, but it's definitely warmer than it was, but it's not hot yet. And there's some smoke. And then you can hear the pump ramping up. You can also hear the fan and the heat exchanger ramping up. So all the videos that I've seen is this smoke will diminish. Holy, it's flaming up. Smoke has died off. Oh, that's hot. Now I don't have a thermometer, unfortunately, so I'm not going to be able to do any temperatures for you. That is not hot. It's lukewarm, with a lot of air coming out of it. So, oh, it's getting warmer though. I can start to feel it getting warmer. Just check the case. I've never been around one of these before, so the case is cold. It's cool to touch, to be honest with you. That's the muffler. But the pipe is red hot. That is, wow, that is red hot, but this is cool. So that's good to note. Because I was hesitant about putting the muffler inside. Again, I had seen somebody do it inside before, and I thought, well, keeping it all neat and tidy, that's the thought process that I wanted to do. I do have a leak here, and that's where I anticipated having a leak. I'll explain what happened there later. So that is going to be a problem that I'm having. I did think that might be a problem. Oh, that's nice and hot now. It's getting really nice and toasty. So I have heard again that it takes about 10 minutes for the glow plug to turn itself off. It's been running just under 10 minutes right now. I reduced the fan speed really low. It has not gone any lower yet. So I just want to quickly give you an overview of the finished product. pretty much finished completely in the boxes. So we have our battery, we now have our power on the side, I'll show you in a minute, and then we have our diesel heater. Now this pipe and this pipe would not stay here when I am transiting, so just bear that in mind for those skeptics that like to hit the keyboard. We have got our power supply on the side here. I'm thinking a bit of Velcro on this one and then just stick it somewhere. And then this is our controller, and this would not stay here. So let's have a quick look at the battery design. On the side here, I've got two Anderson plugs. The reason why I've got two Anderson plugs there is because I'm going to have one for solar to recharge the battery if and when needed, and one to use for the diesel heater. But that also could be used for anything. The ideas are endless when it comes to a battery power pack. Now, I've got to be careful here because the battery is a little bit heavy. Okay, so there we go. I'm not going to open it too far because I think it'll fall over. Oh, there we go. So we have our lithium ion battery, we have our negative cable, we have a positive cable, and I have a 60 amp breaker. This took a bit of thinking about what do I want to do with this, but I thought 60 is going to be good for anything cold temperature running. If the load on the diesel heater goes more than 15 amps, at least it's got some leeway. And also if the solar's coming in or going out or there's a discharge, it can blow. Now, obviously this is too low for jumper cables, so we'll see what happens if and when. But this is not designed to be a jumper power pack. It's just designed to be a power pack. So we only have one hole coming out, and that's on the side here. So that is the battery side of it. Now let us switch over to the diesel heater. So we've already seen on this side the exhaust pipe. We have our heater pipe. We have our diesel jerry can on the back. And again, I'll show you at the very back. That's how high the bleed fuel exit or the outlet is right there. I've created a bit of a higher spot on the tank so it doesn't hit anything. And I'm probably going to put a bit of that corrugated pipe protection on this tube as well. Now if we have a look at the other side, this is our controller, there's our connector. This connector may get replaced because I've got different applications and I'm going to have harnesses in the big trailer already. Then we have our power cable. This is all the genuine wiring that it came with. I've now taken the end cap off of the intake silencer and I've put in a motorbike air filter on there. This is the air intake that goes over the heat exchanger. Not that you can see inside of it, but I did put that scrubbing sort of filter inside here, so it's going to take out most of the heavy debris. It's not going to take out fine particles. Now, to open this one will probably collapse. Let's see what I can do. I don't know if I can open it. There we go. And that is the finished product. So we have our silencer, gets unscrewed. This pipe will then stay inside of here. This will unscrew. I'm not sure if this pipe will actually fit inside of here, but who knows. I've suspended the pump on a cable tie, which is what a lot of people have been saying to do. And then to stop it from rubbing, I've put a couple of felt pads right there to stop the pipe running and the fuel filter. I do like this fuel filter. He says right now, we will see what happens. I like the fact that it unscrews, so if there's any debris in here, the filter sieve will collect it, but then I can clean it out very easily. We have got quite a bit of wiring left over right in here. This is the temperature dial harness, so that can be undone and extended for as long as it's possible. And then just down in here, I don't know if you can see that there, that is the power cable as well, so that can be extended again towards like a rooftop tent, etc. And there we have a finished version of the box. What I did do is I added protection here just in case there's a leak of fumes come from the diesel exhaust. I don't want it to get sucked in through here because this is going to go through the heat exchanger and out to whatever it's going to be, the tent, the truck, the shed, the trailers, etc. So we don't want diesel fumes coming through here. So I sealed that off. I don't know if that's going to be a good solution. We will find out, because I have seen people put an intake here and an intake in the lid so it gets maximum air intake inside of here. I'm just nervous that if anything happens in here and we get a diesel exhaust fume leak, I don't want to get it sucked through here like I did when I first started it up. So now I'm going to go test it. In fact, let's put the two batteries together and just see if we've got power, because I have not checked the power supply coming in or out yet. So I'm going to close this. And again, it is airtight, watertight-ish, okay? This one is not so waterproof because we do have gaps here, there, and everywhere purely for the diesel heater. This is actually going to be stored underneath of the trailer, so it's going to eliminate 95% of anything. And the holes in here are minuscule when it comes to rodents. Obviously, if a rodent's not going to get in there, it's going to cook itself because this is going to be on, so it's going to be red hot. And again, with the filters on this side, that's going to stop any rodents from getting inside of there. So, plugging this in, just going to plug the Anderson plug in. And now we have got power on the dials. I'm not going to start it up here because we are in the shed, so I want to be outside. But this power supply has worked now, so that is really good. So I created a sort of dummy cover. This cover I replaced. The original is still intact, so if I don't like this, I can just change this out and put the original back in. So the final verdict was 2 adjustable vents. This is pretty solid. I did put some tape on here. You can see it's lifted here, but there's a metal plate right here, screwed in 2 places and then 2 places here. The idea here was to have the vent come up from underneath, from here, and go into the existing heater box, and then come out of all the vents that are already there. Coming out of this vent. I didn't want to mount the original Chinese diesel heater in here yet, so I want to play with this. If I do want to mount it permanently in here, this will be the hole that it goes and sits in anyway, so the hole's not a problem. And from underneath, that's a temporary plug right now. That is just the insulation. I've got my vent. It is secured under here with some L brackets. There are 3 L brackets connecting this outer case. Then I've got insulation between the outer and the inner, and that is definitely insulating any heat from the body of the trailer. And what do I mean by that? As just an example of the insulation, you can see under here the tube that's going between the body and the inner piece of here. Tried it yesterday, not much heat coming out of those vents, terrible idea. But this was nice and hot and this was cold, so it does work. So the propane heater idea, it didn't work. Because the heater box just filled up with the hot air. It did push some heat through 2 pipes, but I only got heat really out of this one pipe, which is this register right here. I think there was just too much piping and ducting for it to generate enough heat flow through the pipes. So what I did now is I actually turned this about 90 degrees. I was just playing, and I added this pipe just to see what would happen. I rested it up here and I just put the nozzle on. Now this nozzle's a little bit heavy, and I placed it uphill like this, and man, what a difference. It's just having its own dedicated line now, creating its own flow through this pipe. I know this is on a bit of an angle, but once I get this all mounted up properly, I think what I'm going to do is have it in this configuration. Now this is the existing louvre door panel. This sucks the air from the cabin into the propane heater because there is a vent, I'm not sure, right at the very back here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have this reproduced. I'm going to get some plywood and I'm going to reproduce something similar to this. It may not have slats, it may have holes, and then in this corner I'm going to put one or maybe two on a bit of a diagonal, so you can sort of see it like this scenario, and have it come out of this. Then I'm not destroying this louvre panel, so if ever we want to sell the trailer later, this panel can go back in. And then from there I'm going to have one vent maybe here, might be just standalone, one just sort of sitting like that. I might have one diagonally opposed, one there so it can be pointing uphill, and one here sort of pointing downhill or something, because this carpet area here does get wet and this could dry some of the area out. So the idea now is to just see if that one works with a proper wooden place in place of here. I'm pretty sure that's going to work because yesterday, I don't have a thermometer so I can't tell you how hot it gets, but definitely when you walked in here, the living space in the trailer was definitely up to that wall, definitely this area here, and that's the only area I really want to stay warm. I don't want it warm in the bedroom. The bedroom I want to be cold. I want to actually, because I don't like a hot bedroom, but if I can get this to work throughout the night, keep the heat constant, it's exactly what I want. So I have insulated this pipe and secured it to the floor, and then I also secured it with the existing strapping for the propane furnace. I just looped it around on itself here and then stuck it to the existing hole, so this now doesn't move, or it'll move in time. I mean, there is a little bit of play in this, but not enough. And then I've just made the piece to go back in here, the replacement piece, so I'll show you that shortly. Now, having a look underneath, what have I done? You can see here that I put the cap on. It is just held in, and then I secured it with bungees. And I'm hoping that that will not move. These bungees can move around a little bit, but they won't fall off, and it'll just keep it up there. It just makes it a simple remove two bungee clips, and the cap will fall away like so. Cap will fall off, and then you can see I just put some insulation in there to stop anything from creating a cold air space, and then the cap will just go back on, and then the bungees will hold it in place. Just a very simple idea. So there we have it, the finished product. We have the air vents going through to the propane heater. We also have the vent connected now to our diesel heater, and this will rotate to any direction. So if the floor gets wet in the doorway right here, we can dry that out. Primarily though, this will always be up at the sort of foot to knee height and blowing the heat inside of the cab. The color is not 100% perfect, but it's close, and I kind of like the finished product. So that is the build for this series of diesel heater, parking heater, Chinese diesel heater, however you want to word it, various different names for it. Please join me in the next video as we do a run test and see what the temperature inside of the trailer gets to from its start state, and see if it is actually a good idea to do this build. See you in the next video.